Okay, looks like we're live. Hi, everybody. Stephanie of Stephanie Stitches here. Welcome to my birthday Q&A. I have my daughter, Sarah, here. Say hello.
Hi.
I'm so excited to have her here. You guys have been asking to see her for a long, long time. So I pulled on her little heartstrings a little bit to get her here on my birthday. And she agreed. So that was awesome. We've got a lot of questions to go through today. I got a ton from you guys, which I'm so excited about. And I told you I would answer every single one as long as it was PG. So I'll do that. And my daughter here is going to kind of be watching the chat and answering questions with me for a little bit. And then she's going to go off and do her homework and things that she needs to do for the day. And I'll finish the questions. But she's going to pull some random names through all this. And sorry, I got to fix this. And give away some prizes. Yay! So welcome, everybody. It's good to see you. Let me see who's in the chat. Aw. Mary Jane Ellinger is here. Cheryl Curley's here. Barbara's here. Thank you guys for being here. Melissa Makes Quilts is here. Thank you for the birthday wishes, everybody. Hi, Donna. Diane Constance is here. Jill is here. Look at all the little rainbow hearts and stuff that Barbara left us. So cute. Thank you. Mary's here. Hi, Mary. Beverly Atkins is here. Thank you, Cheryl. They said you're beautiful.
Thank you.
I think she is, but I might be a little biased. Katie Crafts is here. Linda Baldwin is here. Lucille's here. Kathy Cantu is here. Christine's here. Cheetah Sucker number 4 is here. Mozilla's here. Moldy Lasagna's here. Nancy LaVenture's here. Amy C is here. Mona's here. Say hello to Mona. She's the one who sent us the pancake mix and the blueberry mix.
Oh, thank you. We're excited to try it.
Yeah, we haven't tried it yet, Mona, but we're excited to. Cheryl Saxon's here. Kimberly Hicks is here. They said you're getting so grown up. She is. I know. Shelly said Sarah is a mini version of her mama. Beautiful. No, she's much more beautiful than I am. Tracy Albert's here. Hi, everybody. So thank you so much for coming by. We're excited to have you here and to see everybody. Hi, Diane. How are you doing? Hi, Debbie Pickens. Okay, you ready to get started? Oh, there we go. I've got a little thing for her to watch the chat over here. So, all right. So to start the day, you want to pick a winner? We're going to start this off with a winner right away.
I think she was the first person to comment and the first person to be here, Mary Jane Ellinger.
Oh, yay. Okay, let me write that down. Sarah doesn't know your names like I do, so I'm having her randomly pick. So I don't have to. So Mary Jane, you're going to get a prize. And everybody that we call today, make sure you email me. My email is down in the description box below the video with your name and address, and I will get these out to you. So, okay. So the first question was for both of us. The first question I got was, what are some of the things that you and Sarah like to do together? So what do we like to do together?
Definitely watching the Harry Potter movies and painting our nails. And
she paints my nails because
yes,
I'm not as girly as she is. And that's not a bad thing. I love that she's girly because I never was. I was the tomgirl, or tomboy. I was the girl in a dress rolling around in the dirt. But she loves to dress up. She loves makeup. She loves nail polish. So she does my nails. And then I don't have to pay somebody because it's expensive.
It is very expensive.
So I got a free nail person here. What else do we do together?
We like to bake, and I think that's it.
Go shopping.
Yeah.
We both love the lake. Trying to think what else. We like to go to like farms and shows. Her and I will go to shows every now and then. So yeah, we love it. And so grateful that I have a daughter because I have 3 sons as well. And for those of you who have both, know that there's a different kind of bond. So I just love her to pieces. And I'm embarrassing you. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Let me see who else came in. Leslie G, Felicia. Angela Soutinger, Marion Gray, Carol Green. Hi, everybody. Thank you, Nancy. Sarah, she said Sarah's so beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's the first question. The next question is actually a very good question. It says, somebody asked if they wondered if they would ever meet the rest of my family because they've met Sarah. For you, those of you who have been watching me for a while, my husband has popped in a couple times, not very often. I'm hoping to convince him to help me out with another video, and you guys might see him again holding some quilts because I'm going to video all the quilts that I've done for Fort Worth over the last year, since we're going to start a new Fort Worth fabric studio sew along on December 19th. So I'm hoping to get him to film that with me because I can't hold up all those quilts. And he's 6'2", so he's really tall. So hopefully you guys will get a glimpse of him again. My littlest one has been on a few times, Henry, and he's 3.5. He's a crazy one, but he's a sweetheart. He's just got a lot of energy. My oldest son, Christopher, is 10. You won't ever see him, will you? No. He's super, super shy and introverted, much more than I ever was. I've always been a shyer person. When I was a kid, I was that kid that hid behind their parents' legs, in situations, but he's like, don't look at me, don't talk to me. He's just very, very shy and introverted. So he won't ever come on. And then Luke, my 5-year-old, he's our little sweetheart that is autistic. And so he can't handle social situations. So you guys probably won't ever meet him. At some point, I will try to get a family picture and put it up so you guys can at least see a picture of all of them. But for various reasons, it would be really hard to bring them all on camera. So yeah, that would be great to see all of the Fort Worth Fabric Studio mystery quilts and your hubby too. Yay! Hi, Pamela. Hi, Vicky. Yeah, tell him men quilt too. Yes, men do quilt, and he knows that because he knows about Sean, who I'm friends with, and Steven and Adam Sews and all those people. So he knows men quilt. Not his thing though. He's got a different sort of mind than I do. He's very technical. He's an electrical engineer, so he's constantly tinkering with electrical things that I don't understand. So, okay, so that's my family. Okay, this was a good question. What's your favorite Christmas dessert?
I would definitely have to say sugar cookies. I love sugar cookies.
Yeah, and whose sugar cookies?
Yours.
Yeah. She doesn't really like other sugar cookies. She likes my recipe. It's a family recipe I've had for years and years and years. And it's a little bit different. They're the soft type of sugar cookies that are iced. And they have like a little bit of almond flavoring in them. So she loves them. And actually, she's made some dough last night because she's made them one time, other time by herself because she loves to bake. That's like her thing. She made them one other time by herself. So she made the dough last night and she's going to bake them today for my birthday. And so sweet of her. It was all her idea. And she wanted it to be a surprise. But in this house, it's really hard to make things a surprise.
Yeah.
Because it's not a very big house. And, if she would try to keep it quiet, her brother would tell me. So yeah. So my favorite dessert is probably Christmas dessert. It's probably pecan pie.
Blech.
Yeah, she doesn't like pecan pie at all, but I love it. It's great. I love pecan pie. Okay, so that's another question that came up is what is our family's favorite holiday meal? So what's your favorite holiday meal? Lasagna. Yeah. We typically on Thanksgiving, we make the traditional turkey and mashed potatoes and all the things and homemade rolls and
definitely rolls.
Homemade cranberry sauce, which is her favorite. And so we do all the traditional on Thanksgiving. And then on Christmas Eve, we do like finger foods, appetizer type things, cookies, queso and chips, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then on Christmas Day, we make a lasagna and I make it the day before. So on Christmas Day, all I have to do is take it out of the fridge and pop it in the oven, and then we can sit around while they open gifts and have fun. So yeah, Christmas Day is pretty relaxed in our home, and I like it that way. Keeps the stress out of the holidays. Okay, let's see. One of the questions was from Mona, and she said, "Have you tried the brownie blueberry muffin or pancake mix yet?" So I think we already answered that, but
yeah, not yet.
Not yet, but we plan to.
I'll probably make some pancakes tomorrow.
Yeah, she wanted to make them today, but we already had a meal plan for today because we plan our meals. Sarah actually helps me plan meals. So we plan our meals a little bit ahead, and it wasn't in the meal plan. So that's another good question, Sarah. What are some of your hobbies and activities that you like to do besides sewing?
Definitely baking, and I love to draw. That's probably my favorite hobby.
Yeah, she loves to draw. I was really proud of her this summer. You guys know that I put quilts in the fair, but she put a drawing in the fair. Oh, we should have brought that to show them.
Go grab it.
No, that's okay. But she's really good at drawing and she loves it. And it's something quiet you can kind of do, huh? Get away from the craziness of the boys. So, Mona said she loves pecan pie. Awesome. Thank you everybody for the birthday wishes. And actually, Sarah gave me a birthday present this morning. And we're big on handmade gifts in this house. And ooh, that bag didn't want to stay. It kind of wanted to come be my friend, huh? And she drew me this for my birthday. So this is one of her drawings. She knows I love snowmen. And we have a lot of cardinals here in Ohio. So that's what she drew me for my birthday. Isn't it cute? You did such a good job. Thank you, baby. So while we're at it, actually, while I've got the little birthday things, I wanted to thank a couple people. I'm not sure if they're all here in the chat, but Donna Reno from Pennsylvania, she made me this beautiful handmade card for my birthday. You guys can see that. This is stitched on. It's so pretty. So thank you, Donna. And then a gal out of Washington, which I don't know if she's here because it'd be pretty early for her, sent me a birthday card and then made me these little page markers for a book. So you put these on the edge of your book instead of a bookmark. And she made me 4 of them. So that's really awesome. So thank you so much. And she knows how much I love blue. So she made me 4 blue ones and I love them. So I would just want to thank those people really quick. That was very, very nice of you to think of me. I really, really appreciate that. Jamie said, "Great job, Sarah. I love snowmen." Hi, Marla. How you doing? Laura Austin is here. Hello. She said, "My favorite dessert is chewy cake." I don't know what that is.
I don't either.
Yeah, we'll have to look that one up. Okay. Everybody's saying hi, Sarah.
Hi.
Okay, so this question was for me and you. It said, "Who inspired you to start quilting?"
For me, probably my mom.
Yeah.
I just kind of started doing it and, she taught me, so.
Yep, and we have to finish them for Christmas.
Yes.
But she made a little quilt for our youngest Henry and for Luke. So I'm excited to see those get done. That'll be fun, and the boys will love it because they're from they're big sissy. They call her Sissy. It's really, really cute. Well, I guess Luke pretty much calls you Sarah, right?
Yeah.
But the little one calls her Sissy, and it's adorable. So anyway, okay. So what is another question for you? What is your favorite color? This is actually for you and me.
Oh,
I'll tell you mine while she's thinking because you all know already. I love blue.
I like purple, but I like a lot of different colors, so it's kind of hard to just choose one.
Yeah. But if you had to if somebody said you had to pick one color that you had to wear.
Definitely purple.
Purple. Okay. Although you look good in lots of colors. So. Okay, we already did that one. What are your family Christmas traditions? Well, that kind of we went over, didn't we?
Yeah.
With the Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. But other than the food thing, we pretty much just open presents,
And
right?
then if it snows, then we go out and play in the
Yeah, if
snow.
it's snowing, which I don't think it's going to this year. Kind of
Bummer.
sad. Yeah, no white Christmas this year. Um, like we'll open presents and then kind of just lounge around the rest of the day in our PJs, right?
Yeah.
And then if there's snow, the kids will go out and play in the snow. But bummer pie, I don't think we're gonna have any this year. It's just not, this is a weird winter. Usually by now we've had at least one good snowstorm and we haven't had but just a little like dusting, right? We've had
Yeah.
nothing
It
like,
didn't even
yeah,
stick.
yeah, it didn't even stick. So people are saying, yay for purple. So, um, yeah, it's been kind of sad that we haven't had any snow. The kids really want some.
Yeah.
I know us adults don't like snow because it's cold and we have to clean off our cars and we have to drive in it, but the kids love it. So, the one memory I remember of Sarah the most, she was probably, I don't know, 4 or 5. And she went out to play in the snow and she was only out for a few minutes and it was really, really cold. Like there was a wind chill. And I would say in Fahrenheit, it was probably right around 0. And she comes in after just a couple of minutes and she said to me, because I wrapped her up really good, right? In a snowsuit, gloves, all the things. She said, I can't play out here. My eyeballs are freezing. It was the funniest thing I've ever heard. So
I actually said that.
you did. You actually said that. So that was a lot of fun.
Although it does feel like your eyeballs freeze.
Yeah, yeah, it does sort of. But you want to pick another winner now? Because we've been talking for a while. Just scroll through and pick a random name. You don't know their names like I do, so I'm having you do it.
Diane Constance.
Awesome. Okay. So Diane Constance, you want a prize? Make sure you email me with your name and address so I can get that out to you. And this is open to international too. So if anybody's international here, feel free. Of course, that'll be a gift card instead of actual physical prize because the shipping is crazy. Okay, I shipped something to Alaska last week and it was right around £1 and it cost like $15. So that was insane. Okay, so that's that. All right, I think I only have one more question that's for both of us.
Okay.
And that is, where is your favorite place to go on vacation?
Florida.
Florida, yes. We love Florida. We haven't been on a family vacation since the whole pandemic. Yeah, so it's been kind of sad. Hopefully we'll get to go next year at some point. But we do love to go to Gatlinburg, Tennessee.
Yes.
We love Gatlinburg. It's beautiful. But our favorite place to go by far is Destin, Florida. It's so gorgeous there. They have the white sand beaches. The sand is soft. The boys love the beach. It's the one place that I think, other than daddy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Other than my husband, that everybody loves. Our oldest son, who doesn't like anything, loves it because he loves sea turtles, and there's sea turtles there. There's dolphins in the water there. The younger boys love sand and water. Sara is a mermaid. I swear she's part mermaid. She loves the water as much as I do. My husband's the only one who prefers like mountains to ocean, but he's Swedish, so that might be part of it. And he is, for those of you who have seen him, he's super, super fair, his skin, and he burns really easily.
Yeah.
Like,
so that's probably
he's either what we always joke, he's either white or red. And so he doesn't particularly love vacations that have a lot of sunshine. Oh, he likes the sun, but just not that kind of sun. So that's probably the only, it wouldn't be on his favorite. His favorite would be like in the mountains.
Probably.
Yeah. But the rest of us all love the beach. So yeah. Rural Quilter says, Sara, do you have a new sewing project in mind that you want to work on?
I want to make a quilt for myself, and I have some Christopher Thompson fabric. I'm not exactly sure what it's called.
Yeah.
It's that pink and blue one.
Oh, the Paris one?
Yes.
Yeah. I love that she knows designer names. She's learning really well for me. Laura Austin said, I just went on a Thanksgiving cruise. Give me the ocean every day. Right? That's what Sara and we've even talked about, and my husband was like totally okay with this before all the pandemic. Her and I going for like maybe her 16th birthday and flying down to the Caribbean or something like that, because That's how much we love the ocean, and
Mhm.
he doesn't. So that would be a lot of fun. Mary said, Sarah answers with certainty and confidence. I love it. I love it too. I know that I don't have to worry about her when she grows up because she doesn't let anybody push her around. She's tiny, but she's mighty. So Christine said, I love going to Destin. Yes, we do too. Some people are saying it's rainy and cloudy in Florida today.
Ooh,
Bummer pie.
it's raining here too. It rained all night.
Linda said, I heard a snowstorm might be coming at the end of the week. Ooh, that might be on. My kids will be so happy. What is your favorite quilt block? Okay, we'll get to that one when I do that. Hello, Steph. Happy birthday. Oh, I have a new oven on the way. Can't stay. I thought she said she had something in the oven and she can't stay. I was like, oh, are you telling us, giving us an announcement, Colleen? Hi, Colleen. Sherlock So says, I'm planning to see my daughter in Florida in a few months. Awesome. Cruising is a great way to get away, said Donna. It's beautiful in South Florida. Come on down. I really, really want to go to, I haven't been since I was a little girl. So to back up a little bit, my grandmother on my father's side lived in Florida when I was a little girl. So we used to go visit her every summer and we would travel all around Florida. And so I've been to a lot of places in Florida, including the Keys, but I haven't been to the Keys since I was little, probably 13, 14 was last time I've been there. I'd really like to take this one to the Keys. I think she would love it. I'd love to take her out to the state park, the Tortuga, I think it's Tortuga National Park or something like that. I know she would love it. So yeah, I'd love to come down there. Mona said she's never been to Florida. Shelly said the weather has been unpredictable the past few months. Yes. Poor Shelly. She was the one like that was in that hurricane.
Ooh.
Yeah, yeah. So all right. Well, I think that's all the questions I have for the both of us. So you scooch and go do your homework, and I will see you after a while.
Okay.
All right. Love you.
Goodbye.
Thanks for coming on with me. All right. So right now it's sort of quietish in our house. It's quieter in the morning. So she's going to get some homework done so she can take some time this afternoon off and we can eat yummy cookies. Bye, sweetheart. Thank you. She waved to everybody. All right. So now I'm going to answer some questions. I got a lot of personal questions, which is fine. And I got a lot of quilting questions. So I'm going to answer those. Let's see. My first question was, what is my favorite subject to teach? So, oh, thank you, Debbie. I just love her. I think she's precious too. My favorite subjects to teach are English, literature, and history and geography. I will talk about this in a little bit. It's not what I ended up doing for my profession, but I went to school for I went to college for English degree and with a concentration in Brit Lit and a minor in geography. So I really, really love those. And I also like to do, believe it or not, if you homeschool, you have to actually have a better, more well-rounded education than kids in regular school. So they have to do some physical education. So we have things that they do and they have to do home ec. So of course, home ec, that's easy because I sew, I can teach her to sew. And she loves to bake and cook. So that's been pretty easy too, which is awesome. So that counts as home ec. So I just pretty much teach her how to cook meals, how to bake different things, and how to sew. So thank you, Linda said, love the quilt behind you. I will talk about that in a minute too, because I've gotten a lot of questions about that. Oh, Pamela, she said, my daughter's in a lockdown. Her and her students have been hiding for 20 minutes. Please say a quick prayer. Of course I will. That's terrible to hear. And one of the reasons we homeschool. And I know not everybody can do that. and we're super lucky to do that. And every time I hear about one of these things, it makes me grateful that we do. Okay, so I'm going to move on. Um, do I have any hobbies besides quilting, or what hobbies would I like to do if I had all the time in the world? So I do love to read, and music is a huge part of my life. I played the flute and the oboe, bass guitar, and a little bit of piano. Not much. I can't sit down to a piano anymore and do it. When I was growing up. So music is a big thing for me. Um, I don't, the only instrument I still play is my flute. I don't have a lot of time. Like I listen to music most of the time when I'm down here. Um, and I listen to music in the car and drive my family crazy because my taste in music is totally different than theirs. My husband loves 90s music and I love pretty much everything else. So, the one thing that we do as a family, as far as a hobby, is in the summertime, we like to do archery. I have a longbow, and my husband has a compound bow that he shares, or he's got one for himself, and then he's got a smaller one for the kids. So that's a lot of fun. We just do, we shoot at targets. We don't shoot at animals or anything like that because I would never be able to do that. And we spend as much time at the lake as possible. I don't know if that's really a hobby, but that's something that we do. We love the lake. All the kids love it. They love the sand, the water, and we're really, really blessed to live over here on Lake Erie. We're literally less than a mile off the shore, the southern shore of Lake Erie. So love it. And the other thing I would like to do if I had time and if I was younger and or my body worked. I have rheumatoid arthritis. So my body doesn't work very well every day. Yesterday, I had to take a ton of pain pills just to get through the day. I woke up and I couldn't move my hands. So, it's just one of those things I have to live with. But years ago, when I think it was the only kiddo that was around was Sara. Yeah, when she was a baby, I used to do karate. And I told you guys in one of my Vlogmas where I got the fabric with the flowers that reminded me of Hawaiian florals that I had a Hawaiian connection. When I did karate, I did a type of karate called Hawaiian Kempo karate. And so everything was Hawaiian themed. And I really loved it. And I also I got to the level where I taught little kids how to do karate. So I really, really enjoyed that. And if I could physically do that again, I would, but I can't. So that's okay. Now, the next question was, what was my profession before all the quilting things, the shop and all that? So I was in the medical field for almost 20 years. I started, I did different things in the medical field, but I ended up being a medical coder because it's something I could do sitting down. Things I did earlier in my medical career, I had to walk around all day and um, it was very painful for me with RA. So I have juvenile onset RA. So I've had it since I was diagnosed when I was 19, but I probably had it since I was mid-teens. That's when I started really feeling pains. So that's something I could do sitting down. So that I quit my medical quitting position a couple months into the pandemic, and it was a tough decision because I had worked for so long in that field that I was up pretty high. I made pretty good money, but I don't regret it at all because I've had more time with my kids and they're only little for so long. Sara's 13 already. I was thinking about this the other day that really we only have 5 more years till she's off to college and gone. So I'm trying to really take in every minute and treasure that time with them. And I couldn't have done that when I was working. And even at the beginning of the pandemic, when I was still working, things had already started to get a little crazy in that field. When I very first started coding, it looked very different than it does now. And I'm glad I don't do it anymore. So yeah, that's what I did. Let's see. Another question was, and this one was like a little bit of a deeper question, but what strategies have you developed for managing your son with autism? So that was a really good question. And that came from a lady who worked with special needs kids. And the biggest thing with our son Luke is that he needs routine and he needs to know what's happening. And so we try to keep the routine the same every day. Um, we over explain everything to him so he knows what's happening and knows what's going on, because if he doesn't know, if we spring something on him, he has a meltdown. Um, and he's a great kid. He's so smart and very loving, but he changes all the time. One day, you know, something that he does, he's fine with. And then the next day we'll do the same thing and he panics and has a meltdown. So you never know what's coming with him. So every day looks a little different. So we try to keep the routine for him the same as possible to eliminate that stuff as much as possible, but it still happens and it is what it is. It takes a lot of patience, a lot of love, but he's an amazing kiddo and you know, I would do anything for him. Um, we have a no electronics policy for our kids until they're about 10 years old. My daughter is now online with her schooling, as far as not online as far as like somebody else does her schooling, but she does all her work on a computer. Um, and he's the only one that's been allowed to have electronics before 10. Um, he has a tablet that's got some special programs for him that help him communicate better, learn to communicate better with us. So it's been really great because since he's had it for about not quite a year yet, and his language has exploded. So those are kind of some of the things that we have to do with him. It makes everything a little bit harder, but in the end of the day, to see him happy and healthy, that doesn't matter. So yeah. All right, let's get off the heavy. All right, so one of the other questions I got was favorite place I've visited. So my favorite place I've ever visited was a little town in Germany called Butzbach, and that's where I got to go see my great grandmother's home, where they were moved to during World War II, and that's a whole nother story that I won't go into right now. That home was also where my mother was born. So yeah, that was my favorite trip ever. There's lots of places. I've been a lot of places. I've been lucky to travel. There's still a few places on my bucket list that I haven't gotten to yet, but I'm very grateful that I got to go there while my great grandmother was still alive. She lived until 97, and I went with my grandparents, so they got to show us where they met. And I got to see, like I said, where my mother was born and where the whole family lived. So yeah, that was great. That was probably my favorite place I've ever visited. The another question is, how many Christmas trees are up in your house? One. We we have a good size house for our family, but we have 4 kids, so we don't have a ton of space. There's no extra space in our house. So just even fitting one tree is interesting. We have to move furniture around and things like that. So we just have one really like skinny and tall tree. So it's skinny, but it's like 7 foot tall. So it kind of fits in a corner. So we have one Christmas tree, which I love. Uh, Lakeland, Ohio. Um, okay. The next question is, what is my favorite hot beverage? So my favorite hot beverage, well, I guess I don't know if it's a favorite, but I can't like get through my day without coffee. So I need to have at least one cup of coffee in the morning. But if I had to pick one hot beverage, my favorite is peppermint tea. I love peppermint tea. Let's see. Okay, this is a good question for anybody who lives in Ohio. And if you don't, I'll explain a little bit. What jobs did you and your husband have at Cedar Point and how did you meet? So Cedar Point, for those of you who don't know, most people from the Midwest know what Cedar Point is, but if you don't know, Cedar Point is a huge amusement park here in Ohio. It's right on the lake. Literally when you ride the roller coasters, you're looking at the lake, and you know, hundreds of people from all over the country come to Cedar Point. So it's quite a neat thing to be able to work there. Um, when I was growing up, I was born in that area because my father worked there. And then he left. My parents divorced when I was very young. He left and he worked for various different places throughout the years and ended up finishing his career at Six Flags. Um, but when I was in college, the Cedar Point folks come to college campuses and recruit college students to run the rides and do all the things during the summer. So both my husband and I worked there one summer. I worked there 2 summers. He only worked there one. And that's how we met. I worked on a roller coaster and he worked on a water ride. So for those of you who live in Ohio, you'll know what these mean. I worked on the Mean Streak and he worked on Thunder Canyon. And I met him because our ride was the one in the very back of the park. And for all the people in the back of the park, they would bring this huge bucket of ice, and all the rides had to come to our ride to pick up the ice in every morning. So I met him when he came over to pick up ice for his ride. So that's how we met. That was 25, 26 years ago now. So it's been a long time. um, the next question is wondering, do you do most of the cooking or does your husband pitch in and help? So it's kind of a joint effort in our house. I definitely plan all the meals. Um, sometimes he'll cook them. I've taught him how to cook some of them. He only knew how to make macaroni and cheese when we met. So, and he doesn't even really didn't do that right. Even he never follows direct. He's not a person who likes to follow directions or follow rules. So he made up his own rules. So I've taught him how to make some of my recipes, especially for like when I'm gone, when I travel, so he can cook for the kids so they don't have McDonald's for like 3 days. So yes, he helps cook. He does pitch in. Sarah's helping to cook now and she actually loves it. There's days where I'm like, oh, I'm gonna make this, and she's like, sit down, I'll make it, which is kind of nice. So yeah, it's kind of a joint effort in our house. So let me check the chat here really quick and then we'll go on to the next question. The lockdown is done. Oh, thank goodness. Good. Okay. Men follow directions, right, Cheryl? Yeah, that sounds like a guy, said Mary. Yeah. Hi, Kathleen. So that's okay. The next question that I had was making sure I'm not skipping any. Where did I grow up and do I have any siblings? So I was born in Sandusky, Ohio. I grew up for a few years in Huron until my parents separated. And then we moved to Concord, Ohio, which is Sandusky's kind of right in the smack in the middle of Ohio on this southern shore of Lake Erie. And Concord, Ohio is on the northeast side of Ohio, but still close to the lake, not as close as what I am now. So that's kind of way over here. If you're looking at Ohio, it kind of goes like this. Sandusky's kind of here. Where I grew up is over here. And then where I live now is like right here. I'm about 25 minutes from Sandusky now. So very close to where I grew up. I grew up in Ohio my entire life until my senior year of high school, where I had to leave my home due to some things going on with my family. I come from sort of a broken home. I'm not going to go through that sob story right now because I'm sure none of you want to hear it. And, you know, I've passed it. So anyway, I moved in with my dad my senior year of high school. So I graduated from school in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And then I went to Ball State University in Indiana. And then after that, I moved back to Ohio for a few years. And then um, I moved to Oklahoma for a job for a couple years. And I hated Oklahoma. Sorry for those who live in Oklahoma. I actually didn't hate it. I shouldn't say that, but I was scared of it. There was a tornado that came about a mile from my home. That was an F4 when I lived in Oklahoma. And then I was done. I was like, that's it. I'm done. So I packed up and I found a job in Phoenix, Arizona at that time. My grandparents were out there they were getting older. They have since passed, and I wanted to spend some time with them. So I moved out there. Um, and yeah, eventually, due to jobs and those things, we moved back to Ohio, and I'm glad to be back here, to be honest with you. Would I ever live in Arizona again? Nope. Nope. I didn't hate Arizona, but when you live there and you come back here and you get the four seasons again, and your kids can play outside in the summertime, I won't ever live there again. Um, Ohio is definitely, in my heart and soul. So I won't leave here again. I do like to travel. I love to go anywhere, but as far as living, we've got it pretty good right here. The lake isn't like oceans. You don't get hurricanes. We really don't get any tornadoes up here in this part of Ohio. I mean, it is possible, but very rare. They are in Southern Ohio. We don't get flooding where I live, which is very nice. Again, by the Ohio River, they can get flooding, and other places in Ohio. We don't really get any catastrophic earthquakes. We get four seasons, and sometimes when it snows, we can have a lot of snow. But other than that, we're very lucky. I feel like we're in a really good weather spot. So yeah, I don't want to live anywhere else. So, um, hi there, Laura Lynn. How are you doing? Hi, Sean. Good to see you all here. So that's about that. Oh, and siblings. I do have one sister. Um, I really don't know anything about where she is, where she lives. We're not in contact. So that's that. Do I ever get to lay down and take a nap? That was funny. When I read that question, I was like, okay, no, very rarely. So I shouldn't say never, but almost never. The only time I get to nap is if one of the kids is sick, one of the little boys, and climbs up on me. But then I get sick, which is what I had for the last few weeks. The littlest one had a cold, and he gave it to me when I was holding him when he was sick. And, sometimes if you're holding them and you are sitting there, you kind of snooze off with them. But other than that, no, I don't get to nap. And I have had the question, how do you get it all done in one day? Well, I typically get up early, between 6 and 6:30, which I know some people get up earlier than that, but get up. I try to get things done down here in my studio, whether that's filming or sewing something or orders, until the kiddos get up. The kiddos are late sleepers, and we let them because they're homeschooled, so they can start any time of day. Sarah typically gets up and does her work first. That's just her. She likes to get it done for the day and not drag it on. Whereas our oldest son, he tends to procrastinate. And it takes him sometimes till 8 o'clock at night to finish, even though it doesn't need to. He just drags his heels. So he's definitely our challenging one as far as those kind of things go. But I get the work done, and then when the kids get up, I feed them, and then I will clean for a few hours. During the day, my husband's usually on meetings or gone, and so I spend most of my time with the kids then. And then after dinner, I will come back down once he's available to keep an eye on them. I will come back down and get some more work done and maybe film. But I go to bed 12, 1, and I get up early. So I don't get a lot of sleep, but I'm used to it. I know a lot of people don't think that's kind of crazy, but that's just, that's what I'm used to. So there'll be time to sleep once my kids are grown. And, for now, it is what it is, and I don't mind it. So, okay. Now, sure, you guys are probably getting sick and tired of hearing my personal things. We're going to talk about quilting things. And boy, do I have a lot. You guys sent in a lot of questions, which is totally awesome. And so I'm going to answer as many of them as I can. Vicki McNeil said, I'm in the middle of Michigan and there's no place like home. Kathy said, I miss the four seasons. Yeah, that's the one thing I missed the most when I lived in Arizona is the four seasons. And I didn't realize how much I missed it until I came home to visit for a friend's wedding one time. And it was in summer. And I just kept saying to everybody, wow, everything's so green. Wow, everything's so green. And people were looking at me like I had three heads. But you forget when you're around sand and dirt and dust and brown, um, you forget how green everything is. So yeah. Amy said she grew up by the Ohio River in Kentucky, the tri-state area. Very cool. Not too far away from me then. Yeah. Good morning, Terry. Okay, so somebody just asked in the chat what my favorite quilt block is, and I know I've talked about this before. My favorite quilt block is the Ohio Star for obvious reasons. First of all, I love stars, and second, Ohio Star obviously represents my states, and I just love them. I think they're fun to make. So yeah. Mary said, love the Pacific Northwest, but Texas is our winter home. I don't blame you because I hear they got snow there this year. All right, so the first question I'm going to answer is the quilt on the wall behind me. So I've gotten a lot of questions about this in the last week. This is not my pattern. Nope. I wish it was because I love it. This is a pattern from Lala Boutique. It's called Figgy Pudding. And you can still find it, I think, in stores and on her website and stuff like that. I actually had it and sold kits for this and sold the pattern. I'm sold out, obviously. That was last year's Christmas morning fabric, which was gorgeous. She's coming out with a new line this May that's called Christmas Eve, that all the colors match to this. The patterns are just a little bit different. So I'm really excited that they're going to coordinate because I have some, you guys know I'm not a scrap person, but I save scraps from this line. So thank you, Karen. There is some green, and yes, you're right, Mona. There is some green in Arizona, but it's dull green. It's not green like it is here. So anyway, that's that pattern. Thank you all for asking. A few people had kept asking me if I could put a quilt up behind me because they wanted to see a quilt. I can't always have a quilt up behind me because I need my design one. But I decided to go ahead and put one up for the videos. And so since then, a lot of you have asked me about that. So will I carry Christmas Eve? Yes, I've got Christmas Eve on order. I love it because obviously it looks like Christmas morning, which is the fabric behind me. And I loved that. So, okay. So kind of a funny question was, what is your favorite snack to eat while you, like, if you get hungry while quilting? So I should have asked this when Sarah was down here because she would have told you in 2 seconds flat. I love pretzels. I'm kind of a pretzelaholic. So those are my favorite. My favorite are the soft pretzels, like the German pretzels, but I'll eat any pretzels. I like pretzels. So the next question was about, well, the star block. How did stars become your favorite? My brain, I'm not super creative like Sarah is. I don't draw, I don't paint, which she does. I don't sculpt, I don't do any of that kind of stuff. I do things that are very linear. My brain works that way. It likes symmetry, it likes lines, and stars provide that. Plus, they're very traditional, and I really like um, traditional looking blocks. So that's how stars became my favorite because they're very symmetrical, and I like that. So that works for my brain. Let's see what else. Okay, somebody asked me what my favorite quilt I've made is. That's a really, really hard one to answer because there's so many, and I love everything I do. Not because I'm perfect or they come out perfect, but it's just so much fun to create things. I would say, rather than my favorite quilt that I've made, is the one I'm most proud of is my mosaic star quilt. Not only did I design it myself and do everything in it myself, I custom quilted it, but I also won a blue ribbon on it. So I'm probably the most proud of that one. I wouldn't say that it's my favorite quilt. I could look at any of the quilts in my collection and say they're my favorite quilt because I keep them if I love them. So, so that's a really hard question, but that's probably the one I'm most proud of. So yeah. Let's see what else. The next question is, are you going to QuiltCon in Atlanta? No, I'm not. QuiltCon, Quilt Market, all those things are really expensive. So even with like the shop person discount, hotels are about $250 a night. And then there's flights. And then there's the actual fees to get into the conferences. And then if you take any classes, it's expensive. So Quilt Market wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, but QuiltCon is actually more expensive than Quilt Market. So I'm not planning on going. Plus, QuiltCon is mostly modern quilts, and I'm not a modern quilter. I like some modern quilts. I appreciate them and I appreciate the artistry that goes into them, but I don't love them. And I loved walking around and seeing all the quilts at Quilt Market or during Quilt Festival, but I don't think I would love it as much as at QuiltCon. So I don't want to spend a ton of money. Plus, it's time and it's time away from my family. And we're on a budget. We are a family of 6. So I can't afford to go and do all the things. And so this one is just not on my list for this year, this coming year. It's in Atlanta. The following year, it's in North Carolina. So I may consider going then because I can drive to North Carolina from here. It's not too far of a drive. But we'll see. We'll see next year when it comes around. So, oh, thanks, Kathleen. Let's see. Sorry, guys, I'm by myself, so it's really hard to like read the chat and talk about all this stuff. But Amy said, I love the mosaic star and intend to make it sometime next year. Yes, thank you. Bye, Jamie. Have a good day. Stephen is just finishing up his version of the mosaic star. So if you guys follow Stephen Bland, you know, he's been making it and I cannot wait to see it. I've seen it with the fabrics and he's all done with the top and now he has to quilt it. So that's going to be amazing. And at some point he's going to come on my channel and show it. So I'm really excited for that. It's really, really cool as a pattern designer to see people take your pattern and use their own fabrics and, you know, change it around for themselves to see what they come up with. And it looks different with all the like different fabrics. So I can't wait to see his all done. That's going to be fun. And that gets me into, somebody asked me how I design my patterns. So usually I'm inspired by fabric first, not always, but like the mosaic star, I had all that ombre fabric and I was like, what am I going to do with this? Because I love the ombre fabric, but the designer who makes the ombre fabric, I don't usually love her patterns. Her patterns are not that I can't do them, but they are complicated. They're usually filled with hundreds and hundreds of little bitty pieces, which is not fun for me. If it's not fun, why do it, right? We have limited amounts of time, all of us, no matter if you have kids, don't have kids, work, don't work. We all have limited amounts of time. And her quilts take a long time to do. And I love her patterns. They're gorgeous. But I was like, yeah, I don't have time to do one of her quilt patterns. So I was like, okay, what can I do with this ombre fabric that shows off the entire color range of each color? And so I was playing around with different stars because you guys know I love stars and things like that. And I just came up with a 4-patch and I was like, well, let's do a 4-patch because I can cut from the colors like all the way across 4 patches of like the darker, medium to light, and then the light. And then I was like, okay, so now what do I do? So, I was like, well, how could I turn these into stars? So then I came up with the points on them. So that's pretty much like how I do it. But I start on paper. I like to use graph paper and pencils, and then I color it in with coloring pencils. And then I use EQ8, which a lot of you know what EQ8 is, but if you don't, it's basically software that helps you draw quilts, and you can drop in fabrics, like taking pictures of fabrics and drop them into the program so you can put it in to the quilt to see what they're going to look like. You can't publish your patterns from there. You can download pictures and then you have to use another program like Word or Illustrator or something like that. So it takes a lot of work. There's a lot of steps, but I really love to do it. But I'm usually inspired by the fabric first. Usually the fabric, so like my Christmas box that we just did on my channel and for everybody that got it, the pattern was called Peppermint Pixies because the fabric was Pixie Noel. And when I saw the fabric, I was like, yes, I want that for my box. I hadn't come up with a pattern yet. And when I sat down to design it, I was like, okay, what's going to show off the prints, that had the characters on it, And then what can I do with the blenders to like make something cute? And I really love peppermints. I think red and green peppermints at Christmas time looks so pretty. So I came up with the peppermint blocks in there and the pinwheel blocks. So yeah, I'm usually inspired by the fabric. So all right. Somebody asked me what made me upgrade my sewing table. Where did I get my sewing table and what brand it is? So I got my new sewing table and I can't move the camera right now to show you guys. I will sometime. I showed you in a Vlogmas, but I'll sometimes show you like a whole shot of it. Um, I got an Arrow sewing table. So that's answer number one. I got the Kangaroo and Joey. The Joey part is the drawers that go with the table that slide underneath the table. And then I also got a Kiwi cabinet, which is over here to my left. It's got the ironing top on it and it's got a spot where you can also cut on it, but I'm not really cutting on it because that part is sort of tucked under my cutting table, which is right here. But I love having the drawers and the ironing top. And why did I get it? I have been looking for a sewing table for a long, long time that my heavy machine would sit in that would not shake. I had my machine on a really solid desktop table, a sit stand desk actually, that was the legs, everything were made of metal and the top was solid wood. My machine shakes almost every other table, like the plastic ones at retreats and things like that, because it's a big, heavy duty machine. But I sew so much that at the end of the day, because my machine didn't sit in a cabinet, it sat on top, I would have to push my fabric and everything up. So by the end of the day, my shoulders up here were killing me. And I was like, I have to do something about this. So I looked for well over a year at different furniture, different things that I could get to put my machine down in. We have Amish country here in Ohio, and they make some beautiful cabinets that you can put machines down in, but way, way out of my budget. I mean, we're talking $5,000-$6,000. That's, so that wasn't possible to do. So I looked at Horn, I looked at Arrow, and when I was at Quilt Market, I looked at Arrow there because Horn wasn't there, but Arrow was there. So I got to try out their cabinet and Janome happened to be right next to them. So I said, can I borrow one of these machines and put it in there and see what it feels like? And they said, sure. I was surprised that they let me do it, but they let me do it. And I made sure that it didn't shake. It doesn't shake. It's great. I love it. I'm so happy that I have it and so grateful that I was able to get it. And because I was at the show, I got like the shop price, which saved me a ton of money. So I would recommend this table to anybody. Yeah, I love it. So, okay. Love your project boxes. Will you be doing another soon? That was a question that just came in. Yes, I have all the fabric for the spring box already here. Yay. So we're not waiting for fabric this time. This time you're waiting for me to finish my pattern. But all the fabric is here. I actually might switch up the pattern because the pattern I started to draw, I don't really love. So I found a free pattern that I can give you guys that I might just do that instead, that will work with the fabric, but it's here and I love it. And I hope you guys do too. And I will be releasing that after the holidays. So that will come out sometime in the beginning of January. So, and thank you to everybody who gets my boxes. That really means the world to me. I really love curating them. It's a lot of fun for me. That's one of the things I like best. Probably my favorite thing to do in quilting is long arming. My second favorite thing to do is piecing. And my third is making those project boxes. I just really love them. Okay, so somebody asked me what my biggest challenge is when I'm quilting. So my biggest challenge when I'm quilting is probably, well, two things. One is binding. I don't like binding. I can do it. I just don't love it. And so I end up getting a pile of quilts that are done and they need to be bound. I have a pile over here. That red work quilt, I've got the binding on one half and I haven't finished it because I don't know. I find it to be, it takes a lot of time, you guys know, and I find it to be sort of boring and not fun. So Takes me a while to get things bound, but I probably have 4 or 5 quilts sitting over here to my right. I've got a pile of quilts there that need to be bound, and that's all they need. And I know it's ridiculous because I could finish a whole bunch of quilts if I would just sit down and bite them. So yeah, I that's probably my biggest challenge. My second biggest challenge is time. And I know that's probably a challenge for a lot of you. Time, there's never enough of it. I need a 48-hour day, 24 to spend with my family and do all those things, and the other 24 just quilt. So yeah. Um, oh, good to hear, Lori. Thank you. All right. So um somebody said, what kind of quilting is your favorite? Now, I'm not sure what they meant by this, if they meant the actual quilting or the piecing. So I will answer both those things just in case. My favorite kind of like putting the quilt top together is traditional piecing. I am a traditional piecer. I'm not a big fan of applique for myself. I love looking at quilts with applique. I don't like to do applique. Um, I like to paper piece, but I don't really like to paper piece a whole quilt because it takes longer. I can whip out a traditional block in 5-10 minutes. A paper piecing block takes a lot longer. For those of you who paper piece know that. But that's just personal preference. I actually love those things in other people's quilts. I just don't want to do them themselves. And because we do have a limited amount of time, I try to only do the things that I love, because why sit here and struggle with something, or do something that I don't love and then be upset with it because I'm like, oh, well, I could be doing this. So I always try to do the things I love. So that is traditional piecing typically. And then if she was talking about the quilting, what kind of quilting do I like? I hate free motion quilting. I'm a domestic. I'll tell you guys that right now, because that was another question somebody asked me. So that'll roll into that nicely, is if I free motion quilted before I got my long arm. Yes, I did. And I hated it. I find it not easy. It's not natural. If you take a piece of paper, you write on a piece of paper, right? You don't move the paper. So when you are quilting on a domestic machine, you're moving the paper. So it made no sense for my brain. You kind of have to do everything sort of backwards, that from the way you would write. And it just was no fun. I hated it. And on a long arm, you move the pen, you don't move the paper. So I love long arm quilting. It's one of my favorite things I do. Do I custom quilt for people? No. Do I custom quilt for myself? Yes. I don't custom quilt for people because people don't want to pay for custom quilting, number one. Number two, it takes a long time. So yeah, I guess my favorite kind of quilting, if of the quilting part of making a quilt, is long arm quilting. And that goes into another question. Somebody asked me how long it takes to long arm a quilt. So that also, there's a lot of variables there. It depends on the size of the quilt. It depends on the density of the pattern. I can get a queen size quilt done in 8 to 10 hours, or it can take 15 to 18 hours. It just depends on, like I said, a lot of things, the size of the quilt and the pattern. And some patterns stitch out very quickly, and some take a long time, depending on if there's a lot of back stitching, curves versus straight lines versus flowers versus there's a lot of factors. But a queen quilt will take at least a day between hooking it up and quilting the entire thing. So and that's with a computerized machine. So I don't do custom for that reason, because a custom quilt that size would take days and days. And I don't have days, no offense to all of you. I don't have days to give to all of you because I've got a lot going on, family and shop business and, and. So yeah. So that answered a few questions, which is good. Let's see. If you lose your sewing mojo, how do you get it back? That was one question. And there was another one that was very similar. Let me see if I can find it. I don't see it here right away, but it was a very similar question. Like, how do you get back into sewing? I fortunately have only lost my sewing mojo 1 or 2 times ever, and it wasn't for extended lengths of time. I know that a lot of you in the past have told me, not a lot of you, but some of you have told me that you've lost it and you haven't been able to sew for a couple months at a time. I can't even imagine not sewing for that long. We'll go on vacation for just a few days and I'm like, I need to go home. I need to sew. So there's only been a couple of times where I was uninspired and couldn't get into sewing. And then what I did instead, sorry, I'm still a little bit junky, guys. What I did instead was kind of clean up my space, because sometimes having a messy space, and I didn't realize it until those times that I did that, sometimes having a messy space will keep you from having that sojo. So I would clean up my space, and then sometimes when you clean, you find things that you forget about. So I might find a project that I was excited about but had to put it away for various reasons, and then I'm like, oh, let's go work on this. So that gets me back into sewing. But luckily I've never really had that happen where it's more than a day or so where I'm like, I don't want to sew. So yeah, I'm sure that's very different from, you know, everybody out there has different reasons and different ways to get back into it, but that's for me, like how I feel. So okay. Somebody asked me, did I figure out what that cotton cuts measuring tool was for? And I don't even know where I put them now, but those rulers that were floppy. So I've looked all over the internet and I couldn't find any information about what those rulers were for other than marking. There was marks on them like every half inch, and or I think it was every half inch and every inch. They weren't quilting rulers because you can't cut with them, because you cut right through them. Somebody suggested that maybe they were for marking a piece that you're going to domestic quilt and you want the lines a perfect, you know, half inch or inch apart. That could be, I don't know. I haven't been able to find a lot of information out there about them. So if you guys remember what I'm talking about, there was two rulers, one was blue and one was pink, and they were floppy. If you find out more information, I'd love to know, because I couldn't really find a whole lot about them. I actually went directly to the company website, and there still wasn't like much about it other than they were for like a marking tool for quilting. So I honestly am not going to pass them on, and I'm not going to use them because I think they're kind of not good for quilting. So they could be good for something else, but not for quilting. Actually could use them for my kids for homeschooling, because they have to do math and things with measuring stuff all the time. And that actually would be good. Okay. All right. So here's a good question. What made you decide to get a long arm, and how long was it before you start doing long arm for people? So I actually sewed for I quilted, made tops for several years, and had all these tops, and I didn't know what to do with them because I didn't know what a long arm was. Most people don't know what all the lingo is when you start quilting. You have to learn all that as you go. And there's a lot out there. They should make a quilter's dictionary. They might have one. I don't know, but they really should. And they should say, here, you need this before you start quilting, because there's all these names, right, of fabrics like jelly roll and fat quarter and long arm quilter and, you know, all that stuff. So I didn't know how to finish quilts. I had nobody to teach me. That was another question somebody asked me, who taught me how to quilt? Nobody. I learned how to sew from my grandmother, but she was not a quilter. So I didn't have anybody to teach me, but I just got interested in it because I knew I wanted to do something with sewing, but I didn't like garment sewing. My grandmother was a garment sewer. So nobody taught me how to quilt. I learned how to piece on my own with videos and books and things like that. And back in the day, there weren't really any videos like there are now. So quilters that are coming in now, I feel like they have a huge advantage. And I feel like they advance a lot quicker than what we did because they have all these helper tools, which is amazing. I think that's great. But the first time I decided to get something quilted, I took it into a shop that had a long arm, and it was a very small piece, and the price was fine. That wasn't the issue, but the lady in that shop was very rude. When you first start quilting, before you know a lot about fabrics and quilt shop quality fabrics versus like Joann fabrics, and there's nothing wrong with Joann fabrics if that's what you need to use. I'm not saying that, but she was a quilt shop owner, and quilt shop owners tend to look down upon a piece that is made with Joann fabrics. And that's what it was. It was a piece made out of fabrics from Joann's. And I brought it in, and she didn't even want to quilt it for me. She went ahead and did it. She was very rude about it, which was upsetting. Because I worked really hard on it. So so I looked into, after that, I talked to my husband, and I'm like, I can't do this again. I can't take another quilt into somebody like that. Cause honestly, I thought that's how all shops probably were, long arm quilting shops. So yeah, those rulers were by Prim. Somebody said, that's all I know. So I got a mid arm. I started off with a mid arm and I very quickly outgrew it because I very quickly realized on a mid arm, I had a 5 foot frame and you could only do about 7, 8 inches at the most at a time. And you can only go so wide on a 5 foot frame. So you have to constantly move the quilt. And it was really irritating to the point where I was like, I don't even want this anymore. I just want to sell it. um, so I had a mid arm for about 6 months. And at that time, I was still working. And like I said, my salary was pretty good. So I was able to thankfully afford to upgrade to a long arm. So I got my first long arm machine and I got an 8 foot frame. And I thought, this is amazing. And a couple years later, I decided to upgrade my machine from a 19-inch throat machine to a 21-inch throat. And I also got a larger frame. So now I can do a queen quilt. I don't have the king frame. I never get requests for a king size and I don't make king size myself and I'm good with that. So I have the 10 foot frame, which will do a queen size quilt. And I have a 21-inch throat machine. This was another question. My machine is from the Grace company. It's the Qnique 21 Pro and I absolutely love it. And the thing that I love about it, because this was another question, was about how you can get a long arm at an affordable price. The Grace machines are very overlooked because people are impressed by names. And I don't mean that in a bad way because that's not a bad thing. I love Genomes. I don't make that a secret and they're not exactly cheap machines. But long arms are very, very expensive and people want Innovas and Gamels and baby locks and things like that. Well, those start at, 25, 30, 40, $50,000. Well, I didn't have that much money. So I looked around until I found the Grace company. And my whole setup it's expensive with the computerized and everything. It was about $12,000, but 12,000 compared to 30, 40, 50 is much more tolerable. Not only was I working, so I was able to pay for it, but I got like financing for like 6 years, 0%. So no brainer. So I did that. So that's how I got it. But for those of you who can't even afford that much, because I know that's still a lot of money. I know that because that's more than my first car cost. There are groups on Facebook where you can get machines for people that have retired and not retired from just retired from quilting. Or people who have upgraded like I did, because not every company will let you trade in a long arm. They might have gone from like a 16-inch to a 19-inch or a 19-inch to a 21-inch. You can get machines that way. So definitely check out like Facebook Marketplace, and there's a group, and I can't remember the name of it, so I'm sorry, but there's a group on Facebook. If you put in long arm quilting machines, you should be able to find it where people sell their long arm machines. So that's that. Let's see. Oh, and how long was it before I started long arm for people? So I long armed for myself and for people at my church and for charity for about a year to get comfortable with the machine. And then I started quilting for other people and I love it. So yeah. Let's see. YouTube taught me how to quilt. Awesome. All right. How and when? Let's see. This was like a comment, not a question, but somebody said, love what you do for the quilting community. I really, really appreciate that comment. I really don't feel like I do much for the quilting community. I feel like you guys do things for me because you're here, you're watching me, which is just blows my mind. And a lot of you have become my friends. I feel like, I have people to talk to, people to sew with. So I really appreciate that comment, but actually I feel like I get more from you than you get from me. So thank you for that. Somebody said, is there a specific quilt you would like to make if you had endless time to work on it? Yes. You'll have to Google this because unfortunately I don't have a picture. I wish I did that I could pop up. I don't know how to do that on a live. You guys know me in technology. But the quilt that I would like to make is a 2-color quilt with blue and white. And it's called Lady of the Lake. So Lady of the Lake. So if you want to Google that and see what that block looks like, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. I actually think that Jenny from Missouri Star might have done a Lady of the Lake. So if you like her videos, I think she's got one, but that's one quilt that I want to do that I haven't gotten to yet. So yeah. Okay. The next question was a little bit of a touchy subject, and I wasn't sure if I should even answer this, but I did promise you guys that I would answer any question you ask me. So I'm going to answer this, but I won't answer it ever again because I still get this question regularly, even though I've already talked about this quite a while ago. So this is going to be the last time I ever answer this question. So if anybody asks me in the future, I'm just going to say I'm not going to answer that, or I'm going to refer them to this video. But somebody asked me why I don't sew with Becca anymore, and if I will sew with her in the future, do a collab with her in the future. And the short answer is no. The longer answer is I am a very trusting and forgiving person, almost to a fault. And once somebody has pushed me past the point of I can forgive almost anything. I give second, third, fourth, fifth chances, and my husband tells me I need to quit it. But once you push me past a certain point, I'm done. And in this case, I'm done. So I'm not going to talk about that anymore. That's it. All right. Get that out of the way. How many sewing machines do you own? I own, let me think. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you count my long arm, I have 6. If you don't count my long arm, I have 5. I have a featherweight. My husband bought that for me earlier this year because I've been wanting one for a really long time, and I wanted a pre-World War II one, and he found me one. So it needs a little bit of restoration work, but it runs really, really well. I need to get it out and sew it with it on camera sometime. So I will do that. But I have that machine, which I named Helen after my grandmother. I have my Black Beauty, which just came back after being gone for so long. I'm so excited that I have her back, and she's sewing really, really well, which is great because I need to take my other straight stitch machine in, which is the one I've been sewing with while this was gone, my 1600. That's a Janome 1600. This is a HD9. I need to take the 1600 in for service. So I'm really glad that this one's working really well. I didn't want to take that one in until I made sure this one was stitching well and everything. And then I've got a Janome Magnolia. That was my very first machine. And that's the one that my daughter sews on now. It's a very basic beginner machine, but it's perfect for her. And then I have a Janome 3160, and that one has the free arm and it's got decorative stitches. So I can do bags on that. It's got the zigzag because the straight stitch machines obviously don't have any of that. So I have that machine for those kind of things. So yes. You would love to see me use my featherweight. I would too. I need to get it out. And actually, I am going to take my featherweight with me to Georgia. And there's a lady coming to Georgia, Laura Beach. I don't know if she's here, but I'm going to take that to Georgia with me and have her show me some things on it, because I'm a little bit nervous, to be honest with you guys, to use it, because I've seen them used before. Obviously, I've seen the stitching. I don't know why I'm nervous. I think because it's older. I don't know. So I want to make sure I don't mess up anything or do anything wrong. So I'm going to ask Laura if she'll, real quick, show me how to use it. So hopefully after Georgia, I'll be able to show you guys. So, okay, that's all right. Somebody said, you make so many quilts. What do you do with them all? Do you keep them? Do you give them away? So I actually give a lot of quilts away. I don't really have any family or friends to give them to. So I give a lot away I donate them to charity. When our son who is autistic, when I was 9 months pregnant with Henry, our youngest, he was diagnosed with lymphoma. And he, poor kid, he's been through so much. He was about 1.5 years old then, because they're 1.5 years apart. And when he was in the hospital, somebody had donated a quilt to Project Linus, and they gave him a quilt after he came through his surgery. And so ever since then, I try to donate at least a few quilts a year to Project Linus or to another charity that deals with kids' illnesses like that. And so I give some to that. I donated some to Snuggled in Hope, the camp here in Ohio that is for kids with special needs. I have a few quilts that actually I was talking to one of the gals who attended one of the retreats. For those of you who don't know, we offer a scholarship for our Millersburg retreat for one spot. And I was talking to a gal who attended the Pennsylvania retreat, who was also at the Millersburg retreat and knew about that, and asked if there was any way we could do a scholarship for the Pennsylvania retreat. So next month, I plan on actually having an online auction for some of the quilts that I've made over the last year, because I did make quite a few quilts this year. And I'll show you guys those in a video at some point. I'm going to do like sort of a trunk show video of all the quilts I've made over the year. And I'm going to put those up in auction and donate that money to a scholarship. So hopefully we can fund somebody to go to Pennsylvania. So that's some of the things I do with my quilts. And then my daughter steals about half of them. She loves quilts, and she's got one that was my grandmother's quilt that my aunt had made for my grandmother. She has my very first cotton cuts quilt that I did. So she's a quilt lover too. So yeah. So that was a good question. Let's see. All right. So the next question was cool. If you could have 3 known quilters, designers sit in your studio and sew with you, who would they be? So this one is not known, but if I could turn back time, I would love to have my grandmother here sewing with me. That's my number one. She passed before I started this whole quilting business. Not sewing, or quilting in general, but my business. So she has no idea, or maybe she does, that I long arm, that I quilt for people, that I sell fabric, that I sew every single day. She would be floored, I think. So I would love to have my grandmother sew with me. If I had to pick 2 other quilters, designers besides that, they would be, and this one's going to be obvious to all of you, Corey Yoder. I really love her. She is an Ohio gal like me. She's very sweet, very down to earth. She's more introverted, on the introverted side, like I am. I've met her in person a few times, but she's just really nice. And I would love to like bounce ideas off of her and ask her how she comes up with her, fabric designs and her patterns and stuff like that. So I think that would be a lot of fun. And then I would love to sew with Eleanor Burns. Yep. I think she's awesome. So that would be the other person. Now there's so many out there though. So, I think it would be amazing. Anybody that you could sew with, even if it was just, somebody down the street from me here that lived near me to sew with, would be great. But yeah, those would probably be the top. Okay. Let's see, what else do I got here? I have pages of questions. You guys asked me a lot, which is totally awesome. Okay. What quilt themed destination is your favorite? So I've been to Missouri Star. I think it's great if you can ever get there. I probably wouldn't ever go again, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just, it's kind of in the middle of nowhere and not really a destination for me. But yeah, Eleanor would be a blast, wouldn't she? But probably my favorite quilt themed destination is Lancaster, Pennsylvania. We like to actually go there as a family, and we rent like one of those Airbnb or Verbo, whatever houses, and we stay because it's like in the countryside, and we love that relaxation, and the kids love watching all the horses go by with the buggies because it's Amish country. And there's a ton of shops there. Excuse me. Some of my favorite quilt shops are there. Somebody asked me about, and let me grab this, my ironing board, my little ironing board that I iron on. I recovered this a few times, but this was made in a shop, or this came from a shop in PA, in they have funny names for some of their cities over there. So let me just tell you, this one was Intercourse, Pennsylvania. I'm not kidding either. This came from a shop called the Old Country Store. This is the first time I've ever seen little boards like this. It's got feet on the bottom and it's got like this little rope to hang it up. I've had to recover it a few times, which I just took the old cover off. There's a really thin piece of batting under this board, and the board is probably about a ½ inch thick. So you could make this yourself if you got plywood or got some wood at like a Home Depot, had them cut it and then just wrap it with, there's a little piece of batting underneath this, and then there's, cotton fabric on top. And when I needed to recover it, I just took the old cover off, cut it away, took the staples out, put a new piece of fabric, wrapped it around, and just stapled it back in. So it's easy to recover. I sew a lot, and a few people had kept saying that my board was not so pretty, that it looked stained and icky and dirty. And it wasn't dirty. It was just, you guys know, when you use Best Press or the Acorn or even water, your fabric sometimes can scorch or get stained or whatever. And so it was just stained, but it was looking kind of ugly. So I did recover it, although it's only been recovered for a few months and it almost looks like it needs to be recovered again. So that is from that store, the Old Country Store in that area. But that's probably my favorite destination as far as for quilting, because there's so many awesome shops. There's one in a city called Bird in Hand. That's my favorite shop. There's Burkholders, which is also kind of out further away from the rest of them, but it's huge. And I will tell you, when I went there, I hit the jackpot with Corey Yoder's old fabric lines. They had some of her old ones, like her first 2 lines that came out. So that was a couple years ago now. They probably don't have it now anymore, but great shop. There's so many great shops there. And then you can go back to your home, or if you rent a place like we do, because we have a big family, it's usually cheaper to rent like a home than it is to stay in a hotel, because we need 2 rooms. So I go back to the home at the end of the day and I bring my sewing machine and I can sew some of that fabric. So yeah, that's my favorite thing, or my favorite place to go. Okay. We already talked about the long arm. Some of these are duplicate questions because I just printed out all the questions. So I'm just going through. Okay. Somebody was asking about retreats. Are you going to have retreats anywhere new? And here was another question about retreats. I know you have retreats booked for Georgia, Ohio, Washington, and Pennsylvania. Do you plan to book any other locations in 2003? So as of right now, we are not planning any other retreats. I'm looking at a lot of different locations. I'm trying to find places that quilters want to go, because we planned a few retreats and there was places that we were looking at, and obviously our Florida retreat we had to cancel because there was just no interest. But part of the problem right now too is the economy. You guys know the economy is not good. So people don't have a lot of extra income. And some of the places that we were trying to go to were quite expensive. And I just don't think had a lot of interest because there weren't a lot of quilting shops and stuff in the area. So we kind of nixed those. We're trying to stay in areas that we feel would draw quilters. I'd like to go to different places in the country, and there's several places that you all have asked us to come to, and we've looked, and there's really nothing that doesn't cost so much money that nobody would come. So for right now, we're going to keep the locations that we have. I would like to do one in Indiana. There's another Amish community called Shipshawana. It's really, really popular in this area. And if any of you are from around this area, you know about Shipshawana. So I would like to do that one. But for now, that's it. And also the other issue is that you all know Yvette moved. And so a lot of the ones we planned, she was supposed to drive to. So we didn't budget for her to have to fly. So that changes things. And then if we do any by her, then I have to fly. So that's a big factor in it. And also my husband got a new job, and his new job is going really, really well. I'm super proud of him. It was a huge promotion for him, but he's going to be traveling a whole lot. And I have kids and I don't have the freedom to just pick up and go whenever I want. So I have to really consider that too. So would I like to add more retreats? Yes. Can I do it at this time? Probably not. So we're going to stick with the ones we have for now, hoping to add a few more in the future, but nothing planned for 2023. A lot of the retreat centers, believe it or not, like Washington, book up 2, 3, 4 years ahead. So that's been a challenge too. So finding retreat centers that actually have availability during times that I can go, that she can go, that you all can go. So that's been a lot. So yeah. So hopefully we'll get some more in the future. There's definitely a few more places that I would like to go to. I'd like to go somewhere in the middle of the country, Oklahoma, Texas. I would love to do one near Missouri Star sometime because I think that would be a lot of fun for us all to go shopping together for a day. And then but there again, there's not a whole lot of facilities around there. So anyway, okay. So that's with the retreats. Somebody asked me, do I like using fat quarters? Yes, that is actually, people ask me all the time what my favorite pre-cut is. That's my favorite pre-cut because fabric is getting more and more expensive by the day. I don't know about you all, but I can't afford to buy, if there's a line that has 30 fabrics in it, I can't afford to buy a yard of every piece of fabric in a line. The average cost of a yard of fabric now in a quilt shop is $13.99 or $14.99 a yard. You can find it online a little bit cheaper. Like I have it a little bit cheaper, but that's because I don't pay overhead for a shop, right? I don't have to pay for rent on a building or extra lights or anything like that. Obviously, I do pay for it in my house, but I don't have to pay for it in a separate place. And I don't have to pay for employees because it's just me. But quilt shop quality fabric has gotten really expensive. So I like the fat quarters because you can get a piece of each fabric in a line and a decent sized piece. Like you can make 2 projects out of a fat quarter. And and not they're expensive. Fat quarter ones are expensive, but I try to save until there's one that I really, really want and then buy that one. And then I don't feel bad indulging in it. So yeah, the fat quarter is my favorite. My least favorite pre-cut is probably a jelly roll. And there's nothing wrong with jelly rolls. It's just that, and I know there's a ton of patterns out there for them. It's just that I've made about 1 million jelly roll races at this point, which I give most of those to charity because they're quick and easy. And kind of tired of doing them, to be honest with you. And most jelly roll patterns out there, they look like jelly rolls. They look like, and I don't want to make a lot of quilts that look like you just took strips and sewed it together. That's just my personal preference because that's, I love, you guys know I love stars and things like that. So it's really hard to make those out of a jelly roll. So, hi everybody that's coming in now. Would I consider doing Zoom retreats or classes? Yes, I've thought about that a lot, actually. I would like to do it, but it seems like people don't necessarily, I would have to charge for it because it's my time, right? And time that I'm taking away from my family. And people don't necessarily want to pay for classes because you can go on YouTube and get things for free. So I've tried to think how I can do that, and I'm not sure if that's going to work out or not, but maybe in the future. I had a meeting last week with a local career center for the adult education program, and pretty much she asked me to come on board and teach quilting classes in person starting next fall. So I'm really, really excited about that and hope, fingers crossed and prayers for me that it turns out really well. And yeah, I love teaching quilting. So I'm hoping that works out and I can do that. But I would love to do a Zoom class. I just don't know, how it would work out. So my favorite jelly roll pattern is Missouri Star's quilt ribbon star. Yes, Katie, I actually made that quilt with a rainbow fabric jelly roll that I had. That was my rainbow baby quilts because between my oldest 2 and my youngest 2, we did lose a few pregnancies and we lost a baby, a stillborn. So that's the pattern I did for that, and I love it. So, but there's not a ton like that out there, right? That are pretty like that. So, all right, moving on. Let's see. All right, I already answered that. A lot of these questions, you guys, thank you so much for all the questions. There's so many. but a lot of them were the same. So I'm just crossing off here. Let's see. Oh, this was a really good question. Somebody asked, what are you drawn to in quilting fabric pattern? Feel, quality, cost, color, designer, and ask for pattern. What draws your attention to the pattern? So the pattern one is easier to answer. What draws my attention to a pattern is the I don't I don't mind if it's a beginner pattern or intermediate or advanced pattern. I like symmetry. I know I've said this before, but I don't like a lot of the modern pattern. There's nothing wrong with them. I like seeing them. I like other people, but for me personally, I don't like to make them. My brain loves symmetry. So if I see a pattern that is first of all stars and second of all symmetrical, it doesn't have to be stars. I love log cabins. I love churn dash blocks. But anything that has symmetry I'm drawn to. So I like those kind of patterns. As far as the fabric, I love to feel fabric. Obviously, you guys have seen my Vlogmas videos where I've been petting the art gallery fabric. The hand on a fabric, it makes a big difference. There are, I've never had, knock on wood, I've never had a motif fabric that I didn't like the feel of. On the other hand, I have had Riley Blake fabrics that some of them are really, really, really nice. I have a great hand and some of them are scratchy. So there's definitely like a feel factor. And unfortunately, until you get the fabric into your home, for me as a seller, I don't know what it feels like until it arrives. So sometimes I've been disappointed and other time and with motif fabrics, I've never had that happen. I've never been disappointed. So that's why I tend to order more of those than anything else. The costs are just going to keep going up on fabric, unfortunately. Manufacturing is getting more and more expensive, but not even so much the manufacturing is the shipping costs. The shipping costs are ridiculous for them to bring fabric over in containers. From the beginning of the pandemic, a container full of fabric to Moda would have been a couple $1,000s. Now they're 18, 20, $22,000. So that's really why the cost of fabric has gone up so much. It's not as much the manufacturing. But other companies aren't willing to, they're willing to pay that obviously to get it over here, but they look for other places to cut costs. And Moda hasn't done this, thank goodness. Hopefully they won't ever. But other companies have, and so they've cheapened they've cut costs in manufacturing. Some of their fabric is not feeling as nice as it used to. So yeah. So it's not always the cost because some of those fabrics are still expensive and they come over and they don't feel good. So yeah, most of it is feel, quality. I do definitely tend towards certain designers. For myself personally, I love, you guys know Corey Yoder. I like Lala Boutique. I like some Deb Strain. I like a lot of designers, but I definitely am in more of the happy colors, as I call them, like the sherbety, pretty, like flowery colors. I don't like, I'm starting to really, really love batiks. I don't really like super modern fabrics. You guys know this because I've said this before. Cape facet fabrics, I'm doing the Cape quilt from Cotton Cuts. They scare the heck out of me because the colors are bold, the prints are bold. I just don't know what to do with them. I'm not attracted to them. That's not something I go to a quilt shop and go to. I go to, you know, most of the Moda designers, and I don't go to all the Moda designers. Like Ruby Star Society is Moda's modern fabrics. I don't like any of those. So, but that's just personal, you know, preference. So, okay. Let's see, what else do I have? Do you like to make blocks for the pattern or do you experiment in your favorite color combinations? So that's a big question. Do I make blocks per the pattern? Yes, I usually stick to a pattern, whether it's my pattern or somebody else's pattern. That just works for my brain the best. And I don't experiment a lot with blocks. I stick to very traditional blocks. So favorite color combinations, I really love like aqua and coral. I really love purple and green. As you guys know from Vlogmas, I'm not a huge fan of yellow. I don't like brown. I don't use brown in anything if I can avoid it. Hi, Jeannie. So yeah. Um, that's about it for that. Let's see. Is there a list of upcoming retreats past January yet? I already talked about that somewhat, but yes, we have on the retreat website, which is in the description box below. Millersburg is up, Washington is up, but those are sold out. The only one I still have seats for is the Pennsylvania retreat in September, and I think there's 3 seats left. So if you're interested, go check it out, and hopefully you can attend. We'd love to have you. Um, okay. Why did you decide to start your quilting business, and what came first, your online store or your YouTube videos? Okay, so yes, I agree that the cave fabrics would look good in the mosaic star, Noemi. I I totally agree with that. I just am scared by them. um, what did you decide to start your quilting business, and what came first, your online store or YouTube videos? Okay, so actually what came first is my long arm quilting business. Excuse me. Still have a frog in my throat. I started long arm quilting first, and as I was long arm for customers, I had customers saying, can you get backing fabric? Can you get batting? Can you get this? Can you get that? And I was like, well, I don't know. Let me look into that. So I started looking into how to buy those things wholesale, because buying something retail and then reselling it to somebody makes no sense, right? Because they can go buy retail it themselves. So I looked into how I can get those things retail or wholesale so I could resell them. And um, that kind of started my shop. So I started buying 108s, I started buying bedding, I started buying notions. Then I started getting regular fabrics, regular with fabrics and pre-cuts, and that it's just kind of snowballed from there. So that's how I started um, my quilting business. And then YouTube came about because that was a question that was asked by several people. YouTube was a harder one for me. Like I said, being the shy, introverted person that I am, I was asked to do a tutorial on the Ohio Star Block years ago by a shop that I was doing some work for at the time. And I was like, I don't know how to make a video. I don't know how to begin to make a video. I don't know where to put a video. And she's like, well, on YouTube, of course, just create a YouTube. And I was like, okay. I cringe when I see that video. I don't ever watch it because it's really bad. Um, but you all got to start somewhere, right? So that started it for me. And then I started sewing with other people on YouTube, friends at the time. And then that snowballed into kind of branching out and starting to do my own videos here and there. But it really started for me probably last year. I started making a lot more of my own videos, and Vlogmas, like this year, I did last year. And ever since then, I've kind of consistently made videos, and I really like it. I love connecting with all of you guys. I really love meeting all of you. It's really, really fun when I get to have a Zoom and finally see the person behind the name, or meet you in person at a retreat. That's been great. I really appreciate all of you coming. And when I say that in every video, I truly mean it. I feel like I've got a bunch of quilting friends that I don't have in person. So it's really great, and I love doing it. So, okay. Um, only a few more questions left. I know this video is getting really, really, really long. Sorry. But I promised you guys if you put a question, I would answer it. So I'm trying to answer all the questions. Somebody asked me what my favorite seam marker or tool is for a 1/4 inch. I love the seam guide tape from Cluck Cluck. So that has been a game changer as far as getting my 1/4 inch consistent every time. That and my straight stitch machine. My straight stitch machine makes perfect stitches every time. My fabric doesn't veer to the left or right. If I put it through there, it just goes straight through. And that with the guide with the Cluck 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 sew diagonal seam tape, I get consistent 1/4 inch seams all the time. So that's probably my favorite. Oh yeah, Tracy said sewing on Steven's Zoom retreat. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Steven Bland, you guys may have seen me opening the Missouri Star box with him. He's hilarious. And we had a great time opening that, but he does Zoom sew alongs every now and then. And that's been so much fun because there's people that I've seen on his channel that I've gotten to see their face on his Zoom too. So yeah, I really enjoy that. I already talked about that. Somebody asked me, where do I envision my business in 5 years? So I don't know. That's a very difficult question because right now, if I had to say, based on what's happening right now in the industry, I probably won't have an online shop in 5 years. People tend to shop large shops first and then come to the smaller shops when they can't find what they're looking for or it's out of stock at the larger shops, which that's just a logical way to shop. And most people do that. And that's not something that's uncommon. But for small shops like mine, it's really hard to compete against large shops because I can't offer the same shipping specials that they can. I can't offer the same discounts that they can because they can buy in bulk. So it's a struggle. This year especially. Last year I did really, really well. This year not so well, but it's part of it is the economy. People don't have the extra spending money, and I'm very, very aware of that. So I'm going to keep living along and hope that it gets better. I'm hoping in 5 years that I'm definitely in a better place than I am now. But I won't stop. I definitely will keep doing the project boxes because I love them. I will keep doing YouTube and sew alongs and give you guys free patterns to sew along with me, which by the way, I'm going to start a block of the week program in January and it'll be completely free and we're going to sew together. So look for that coming soon. I'm really excited about that. It'll be a star sampler because a lot of you have asked me if I could do a star sampler. So I decided, yes, I'm going to go ahead and do that. So that'll be coming up in January. I love doing those kind of things. So that I won't stop. But we'll see. I'm not sure the long arm business I'm going to keep. We'll see with the shop. I don't know. It's becoming questionable as to whether it's viable long term. So I hope it will be because I really love fabric. I love selling fabric. I love, ordering fabric. I love making projects with the fabric. So I hope that it'll keep going, but you never know. How do I store fabrics and scraps, etc.? So that's a good question. As most of you know, I'm not a scrap quilter. So unless it's a fabric line that I really, really love, I don't typically keep scraps. So I can't give you any tips for storing scraps. I know that different people do different things. Some people sort by color. Some people sort by scrap size. I think if I was a scrap quilter, I'd probably do it by fabric line or color. That to me would make more sense than size, because if I go to a size, I'd have to dig through all of that to find the color I was looking for or the line I was looking for. As far as how I store fabrics for myself, my personal fabrics, I have a cabinet that I keep all of my bundles of fabric in. I have a closet up in our bedroom. When we built our house, and when we built this house, it's not a custom build, right? It's just a already pre-canned. So our bedroom has this weird small closet kind of along the one wall that I think the purpose of it was supposed to be like a linen closet. But it's in a weird spot. It's not by the bathroom. It's not in the hallway. It's just, anyway. So that has kind of become my closet, and I store my yardage in there. So I just have it wrapped around, obviously because I sell fabric, I have a lot of bolt ends. So I wrap it around bolt ends and just stack it in there neatly. So thank you, Nancy. Oh, that's a good point too. Sherlock so said, I normally shop small stores. I don't mind paying shipping costs. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I know you shop for me, so I appreciate that. That's the other thing is shipping costs with the online shop, how I envision it. Shipping costs are ridiculous. I've been resisting pushing up my shipping costs for a long time, but almost every order I lose money on shipping. Shipping is ridiculous. And I don't foresee it ever going back down. I just, even priority mail, it used to be a year ago was $7.75 for a business owner. Then it went up to $8.30. And now one of those bubble, which I ship a lot of things into, you guys, one of those bubble mailers is now $9.20 to send to somebody. So shipping costs are horrible. So anyway, we're going to get off that stuff because this is fun. I don't want to dwell on that kind of stuff. So, let's see. All right, 2 last questions, and then I promise I will shut up. This is probably the most all of you have ever heard me talk because I don't usually talk this much. All right, do you find it easier to buy full kits and complete them, or spend time creating your own projects and looking for coordinating fabrics to complete? So I am not the type of person who has a rainbow stash of fabrics. I don't have 5 different reds from 5 different designers and yellows and oranges and all that stuff. That's not the type of culture I am. I sort of envy the people who can do that, which is probably most of you. I am a line quilter, a fabric line quilter. So if there's a fabric line that's out that I love, like I said earlier, I will typically buy a fat quarter bundle, and I will buy the background fabric that they have with it, because a lot of designers now do a tone on tone or suggest something that matches it. So I'll buy enough of that to do a quilt, and I'll usually buy enough yardage to do a border, a binding, and a backing. And I keep all that together. I don't have a stash like I said that has a bunch of reds, a bunch of orange, yellow, blue, all that stuff. I'm not good at mixing fabrics. My brain likes things to all match. That goes back to the symmetry and the linear thinking. So that's, I don't necessarily, I do buy kits. I like kits for myself, and I sell kits. But I don't necessarily need to quilt from a kit. I do like to design, you guys know, my own patterns. But when I design a pattern, like I said before, I will typically design something based on a fabric line that I like or that I see. And so I buy the fabrics from that fabric line that will work in my pattern. So that's just, I'm matchy kind of girl. So, all right. And then there's a couple questions in the chat. I'm going to finish the last one. I have my paper, then I'll go to the chat, and then we'll wrap this up. So the last question that I got was, if I did a Christmas box, how much would it be valued at, and what would you include? So that's a very interesting question, because for the last 2 years, I've thought about doing a Christmas advent. They take a lot of planning. They take a lot of time. And with the price of everything changing all the time, it's really, really difficult to plan one, but I really, really want to. So I don't know if I'll be able to do it for next year. I'm hoping, fingers crossed. But mine would be, I couldn't tell you what the value would be or the cost would be or anything like that. You know, you don't know, it's all based on whatever goes in the box. But what I would make sure it was a project-based box. And I'm not saying you would get everything all at once, right? Like my project kits are, but where each day of the advent, it would lead to, like, this fabric is for, you know, you get the pattern, and then the next day maybe you get the pre-cut that you need, and maybe the next day you get the backing fabric that you need, or the background fabric that you need, and then maybe you get the thread to help sew it, and maybe you get a notion to help sew it. So that's kind of what mine would be if I ever do one. That's what I have in my head. I've had that in my head for a while. I just haven't had the time or the resources to kind of bring it into fruition, but that's what I would love to do if I ever did a Christmas box. So yeah. All right, now I'm going to go look in the chat because I see some questions over here, and then we'll wrap this up because I know I've been talking for a real long time. I'm so glad that you guys were here today for this Q&A. I love seeing all of you, and I know I missed a bunch of you that came in after I was chatting and chatting and chatting. So for those of you who came in later, thank you for being here. Let's see. Oh, a good question. Somebody asked me, am I going to Sew Yaz retreat? Yes, I am. I'm really, really excited about it. I know them personally. I've done some work with them in the past, and I met them. I never met them in person until Quilt Market. I got to meet them in person. I will tell you that even though T Income talks a mile a minute, he is the nicest person in the entire world. He's so sweet. He's so down to earth, and I just love him. Brody is very, very, and probably no surprise to any of you that watch. So yeah, he's all about business. So he's friendly, but he's like very laser focused on business. And Zach is very quiet, just like he is online. So, but they're really nice guys. I'm really excited to go to a retreat and not be planning a retreat or have to run a retreat. So, that was sort of my birthday and Christmas present from my husband. So, and luckily I had enough points from all the retreats and flying over the last year that I got my flight for free. So that made it a little bit affordable. So I'm really, really excited about that. Let's see. Oh, awesome, Tamala. I might hit you up about the featherweight. Let's see. I know I saw a couple questions. Let me get to them. Sorry. There's a ton of stuff in the chat, and thank you guys so much. I'm so, so happy you were here. Have you thought about moving away from Etsy to a website of your own and being able to ship internationally? So the problem with Etsy is not that I can't ship internationally from Etsy. I absolutely can. The problem is the shipping is ridiculous. So there's a gal coming from, excuse me, from Australia to our Washington State retreat. And she asked me if I would be willing to sell her one of my project boxes and ship it to her. So I said, I don't know, because she's, like I said, in Australia. So I looked into it, and my boxes are typically between 2 and 4 pounds, no more than 4 pounds, usually around 3. And to ship a box that weighed that much in a priority mailer to Australia was $65. My project boxes are usually somewhere between 60 and 80. And so basically, I wouldn't feel right shipping somebody something for 60, like making them pay $65. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. That's way too much money to pay for a box that's not even, that's just valued at that. I mean, that it's just, the shipping is insane internationally. And now we also, as sellers on Etsy, if you ship internationally, have to pay the VAT taxes and all the customs things and all that stuff. So it's just financially makes no sense. And I really, really, really wish that there was a way to ship things cheaper to international, because we have so many international people that watch us, and I'm so grateful for them being here. And their hours are so different from ours that some of them are up really late or up really early to watch us, from the UK and Australia and France and Canada, and Canada's the same time, but you guys know what I'm saying. So I really, really wish that there was a way to do that, but there's not. And having your own website comes with, because I have my own website for long arm quilting, comes with a whole nother set of issues. So unless you're huge like Missouri Star or Fat Quarter Shop or something like that, it doesn't make sense to have your own website. So yeah. So if you guys make me huge, someday maybe I'll have my own website. But let's see. Not an Advent box girl, but I would like the concept and I would purchase yours. Oh, thanks, Kathleen. The Christmas box sounds like something Sarah would be able to help you design. Yes. Oh, Cheryl, you're going to be at the So Yeah retreat. Awesome. Let's see. My birthday was last week. We're both December babies. Yay, Wanda, happy birthday. And I know there's a few other people that watch me that had a birthday. So happy birthday to you all too. Somebody told me their anniversary is tomorrow. So happy anniversary. I can't remember who told me that. Okay, so it doesn't look like I have any more questions, and you guys are probably sick of listening to me because I've been on here for like 2 hours, which I think is one of the longest like I've ever just talked for 2 hours. I usually sew or something. So thanks for sticking with me. I will have, don't forget to the winners that Sarah called out earlier to email me your contact information so I can get your prize out to you. I will have another video tonight. I'm very aware that a lot of the viewers work during the day and couldn't watch. So I'm going to have another video tonight that a few of you asked me to demo some things that I've demoed before, but I can put them in one place and label it as a demo video. So I'm going to demo a few things. So come back and watch that tonight. That's our premiere. So it's going to be pre-taped. I'm going to tape it this afternoon, put it up, and that way I can chat with you instead of having to be on video and chat at the same time. And then Sarah's going to sit next to me and just tell me a few names and I'm going to pick a few winners from, I'm going to let her pick because she doesn't know your names like I do. And I don't want anybody to think I'm playing favorites or being biased or anything like that. So I hope to see you tonight. That should be around 6:30 or 7 o'clock. It just depends on the timing for the day, what the kids are up to and all that kind of thing. So yeah, that'll be on a little bit later this evening. So I hope to see you then. And if not, tomorrow for Vlogmas and Saturday for Saturdays with Steph. Saturdays with Steph this week is just going to be another UFO sewing thing. I haven't lost my sewing mojo, but Monday we have the Fort Worth Fabric Studio quilt starting, and then in January I'm going to start the block of the week. So I've got a lot of things going on, things I need to design, things I need to work on. So I don't want to start another new project. But I do want to sew with you guys before the following week is Christmas. So I won't be here to sew with you then. And then the following week after that is New Year's, and we'll be at the retreat. Now, that day for Saturdays with Steph, I will be on, but not till later, because we're going to do some video from the retreat live for New Year's. And we're going to go, I'm going to start it later because I know my normal start time is 5 on Saturdays. We're going to start it at like 10:30 and go to midnight and celebrate New Year's with you guys. So that'll be on my channel that day. So yeah, that's it. All right. Thank you everybody for your birthday wishes. You're all so sweet. I really, really appreciate it. I honestly, from the bottom of my heart, feel like you're all friends, and I really appreciate all of you. Sorry, I don't normally cry. What is wrong with me today? But thank you guys so much. I loved seeing you here, and thank you all so much for the questions. You sent me so many great, amazing questions, and yeah, it makes me feel like a little bit closer to you guys when I hear from you and when you can hear from me. So have a great day, and I will see you guys tonight. Bye.